Welcome everyone to Train Tuesday. I am your host, Jim Wiggins. So glad to have you on board tonight. If you're joining us during the live, thanks for joining us. We'll do some shout outs here in a second. If you're joining us afterwards on our YouTube channel and you like the content that we deliver on a weekly basis, please do us a favor. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into the feed. And comment. We appreciate the feedback and we like the interaction. So next to a train show, this is the next best thing is comments and the video. So let's see who is joining us tonight. I see Ronald is here, and yes, DG Model Works is in the house. Mr. Charles Wood is here. Tim O'Goul, Michael Nemechek, Mr. Dave Reynolds, Late Night Model Railroad is here, and Jason True, just to name a few. We're going to be talking trailers tonight. Now, if your layout is like mine and it's situated in the 90s to maybe the current day, we're going to have some trailers that you're going to be looking for, and they are available right now at your Athearn dealer. Now, they were delivered a few weeks ago, so if you pre-ordered them, you're probably already enjoying them on your layout like I am. If not, you might want to contact your dealer, see if you can get one or two of these trailers. Let's do another round of shout outs. I see NSWLE is here, BN Green 1970. I see Darren has joined us, and many, many more. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for the subscribe. We're going to go ahead and get started. If you've got questions about what we're talking about tonight, leave those until after the presentation, and I will answer as many questions as possible. And let's go ahead and get started with some more model train goodness. So these are 53-foot Wabash plate side trailers. These are pretty common in today's world. I mean, chances are if you were driving home from work tonight, you probably saw more than two of these on your way home. They've been real popular since the 1990s. It was in the early 1990s that we started to see 53-foot trailers on the road. Now, here's an interesting factoid about 53-foot trailers. They always have the lettering 53 foot on them, usually on the front corners of the trailer. Now, many people probably wonder why that's so, because it wasn't as common with the earlier 45, 48, and 40-foot trailers. Believe it or not, that's because of one state. I'm going to ask you guys, which state of the United States do you think made it mandatory to have this 53-foot designation put on its trailers? I'll be watching the comments here. They are down to my bottom right, but one of the states basically made it so that they have to say 53 foot on the front of the trailer. So let's see what we've got. I'll give you a little bit of time to come up with some answers. Michael Nemechek's coming in with California. That is wrong. Let's see who else we've got. Robert with New York. You're close. Just into train says Oregon. No, not Oregon. I also see Bobby saying Utah. Not quite. Florida and Ohio have joined the chat. No, you guys you're getting close. I'm going to throw you some hints. It's from my neck of the woods. It's in the New England region. Sid is saying Vermont. You're so close. Let's see who can get it. We've only got a few more New England states to go. So let's see if somebody's got it. I'm not seeing it. So far, the only New England state I've seen is Vermont. One vote for Maine. Aha! We have Mr. Charles Woods. Was correct. It is Massachusetts. Massachusetts wanted that as a mandated thing on their trucks. Now, if you've driven in Massachusetts, especially in Harvard Square, it is really tight. Now, I always tell folks that have never been to New England that our highways, our roads, pretty much were invented by colonial cows. They're nothing like the Midwest. There is no grid pattern. And so the streets are very narrow. They're very hard to navigate. My assumption on this is that possibly Massachusetts wanted to know what size trailers were coming into their many streets for clearance reasons. That's what I know. That's what I found out in my research. But it's a cool kind of tidbit. And the next time you see a 53-foot trailer, you'll probably notice that 53-foot designation on the front corner. Now, one thing I do want to show is you'll notice when we announced these back in January of 2023, we had 6 roads that we were going to do. Unfortunately, you'll notice that the JB Hunt trailer, which unfortunately was very popular in this run, has been canceled. Both road numbers have been canceled. In fact, I must report to you, unfortunately, Athearn will no longer be able to do JB Hunt branded merchandise anymore. Long story short, their guys met with our guys and said cease and desist. So unfortunately, we can no longer do the JB Hunt brand despite its popularity in the model railroad world. You hear me talk about licensing and things on different shows. Well, this is a case where the company or the lawyers that represent this company did not want to pay or have licensing paid to them. They just frankly didn't want anything with their name on it associated with model railroading and possibly toys. So unfortunately, those trailers will not see the light of day. However, we still have 5 different roads from 5 different eras from the 1990s all the way to pretty much current day that we can talk about tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with extra leasing. Now, of course, extra lease, real common. You see these. This particular trailer is a 1990s, based out of St. Louis. You'll see these throughout the Midwest. So if you're like me and you're modeling the Midwest and HO, this is probably a good trailer. This would be a great fit for my layout because it's right smack in the 1990s. And again, since my HO layout is set into Central Illinois, it will fit perfectly. Now, I see some questions for folks out there asking for updates. If that's why you're here, this is probably not the best place or the best use of this program. However, at the end of the presentation of these models, if you want to ask those questions, you can feel free to ask those. However, we're going to stick to the main topic, which is these 53-foot trailers. Now, one thing I do want to let you guys know, for each trailer, there are 2 road numbers. So you see the one that's shown on your screen now, as well as an additional. Now, this is the one that's actually on my layout right now. It really technically doesn't fit because it's a 2010 on up. Now, this is part of the Prime for Grime, and sharp-eyed modelers will note that it says Triple Crown. If you look very carefully, you'll see the old Conrail logo. If you look extremely carefully, you'll also notice a Norfolk Southern. Now, we all know that those 2 railroads plus Triple Crown were associated with the road railers. This particular trailer, I couldn't find proof that this was a road railer trailer. However, what's really interesting about this trailer is the owner's reporting marks, MECZ. Now, at first glance, you would think that would stand for Maine Central, but wait a minute, Maine Central didn't exist except on paper in 2010. Well, that would mean it would be Pan Am, correct? Not quite. Did a little research on these. These are actually part of Vermont Rail for a time. Vermont Rail used these reporting marks on these former Triple Crown trailers, and they could be seen as far as Indianapolis at an Amazon distribution center being used as storage. Now, there are pictures of these trailers in this condition, and so if you want something that's truly unique and you're modeling modern day, I would recommend getting both of these trailers and go ahead and using those pictures that can be found online to make some really cool Prime for Grime trailers. Now, out of the package, you can see the paint's all chipped, the paint is faded. You have the old marks of Conrail and Norfolk Southern. It's rather subtle, but you've got the starting base for a really cool weathered trailer. Alpis, this is another 1990s trailer. Now, this is another one that you'd see in the West, definitely in the Midwest. I remember seeing these on flat cars in the 1990s. These, again, are going to be delivered what I would call factory fresh. They're basically new. So 1990s era, like my layout, these will be a perfect fit. Maybe just a little bit of weathering just to show some road grime, but out of the box, they're pretty much as they came out of the factory. There are 2 road numbers available for this as well. So here's another prime for grime, and this is another one that technically we put 2000s in it for this era, but this is an owner operator trailer. This is great for someone who's modeling a large distribution center, maybe a industrial park, and you can just add it as is. Or for those that want to work with their own decals, or maybe find some decals for a carrier we didn't offer in this run, you can add those to it and make it your own. Now, I want you to pay close particular attention because above me, you can see the dually wheels on the bogie. Notice that the rearmost wheel is white and the forward facing wheel is gray. It's just another little feature that we did with the Prime for Grime. We wanted to have a little bit of a mix and match of wheels to make it more convincing that this is an older trailer and it's on its second or third owner. Next, we've got the Dirksen. Again, this is one that you would have seen a lot in the 2000s. I haven't seen one of these in a while. Our era for this is in the 2000s. And again, they were somewhat common here in Illinois for a little bit. Now I haven't seen them in a while. Now, maybe I just haven't been paying attention. But if you're modeling the 2000s and you're doing the West to the Midwest, these would be a great fit in for your layout. Let's talk about the model features of these trailers. These are really nicely done trailers. They are ready to go out of the package. The two Prime for Grime versions that we're offering are the perfect starting point for you to go even further with your weathering. Now, they're going to have separately applied landing gear and mud flaps. If you look at the landing gear and if you look at the mechanism that lowers the tractor landing gear, that's wire. It's real fine wire. Really nice detail on the landing gear. You're also going to have the mud flaps, which are totally separate. And believe it or not, there's actually decal companies out there that make decals for HO scale semi-truck mud flaps in case you want to add them to your owner-operator run. These are highly detailed. They have a highly detailed body. These are based on the actual Wabash Plate trailers. And of course, they're painted and printed from prototype photos. Pretty much everything in this run was based on actual photos. So Athearn Product Development did a lot of research on these. These trailers do exist, including those MEC Prime for Grime former Triple Crown trailers, which are really cool. They're probably going to sell out fast. And again, these are going to work for 1990s. You can probably stretch these into current day. Now, my layout again is in the late 90s to the early 2000s. So I have a few options here. So let's see what we've got for questions. And you can see just over my shoulder there, right there, is my Triple Crown that's just kind of standing in right now. Hoping to maybe weather that a little bit later. Let's see if there's any questions. Randall says, you know, it's really crazy about these trailers, Jim. If you ever follow some of these things, you can actually see the bodies flex at times. Yeah, I've seen them flex. Something you don't really want to see when you're when you're passing them. Let's see what else we've got. So Stephen's commenting, Vermont Railway and later Vermont Rail System had an enormous number of trailers that went all across the country. Correct. Stephen, I'm not sure if you knew this or not, but at one time, Vermont Rail had the largest fleet of trailers, specifically trailers on flat cars. I distinctly remember rail fanning in Rochelle, Illinois back in the late 90s and seeing Vermont Rail trailers on flat cars even back then. Now, Vermont Rail, if you're thinking of the Vermont Rail actually painted trailers, they never had 53-footers. There's still kind of a mystery on those MS and MECZ trailers, but they did track back to Vermont Rail. But earlier than that, they had actually painted green trailers, and you could see those all over the country. And that was pretty much from the late 70s up until about the 90s or so. Let's see what other questions or comments we have. Paul was wanting to know if the USF Holland trailers are out too. Not at this time. Railfan 1995 on a different note wants to know, Jim, any new announcements on Amtrak locomotives for upgraded Genesis F59 PHIs or upgraded Bombardier cars with lights and sound? None of the above. I don't have anything for you tonight. Let's see. What else do we have? Yeah, there's a couple guys in the comments saying, man, that's too bad about the JB Hunt. It really is, because that was one of our most popular lines. Of course, we also had containers and things of that nature with JB Hunt. But unfortunately, much like Maersk, they said no more. And that's the end of it. Now, that could change in the future. But for right now, unfortunately. Let's see. Stephen Wagner again with the Vermont. Yes, you are correct. However, later on, they were white with green in their distinctive logo. Interesting question from Tim O'Goul. Are the couplers for these trailers standardized across the industry like magnetic couplers are? Have a truck and trailer from another manufacturer and they twist lock into each other. Well, very simply put, with our trailers, it's simply a post. Now, on mine back here, I've got an older Athearn Freightliner. Actually, no, I think it's a KW. And it just fits right in there. I can tell you that there are other brands. There's a really nice brand that starts with B from Germany. They make a Ford Aeromax, which I would normally have on this layout because that fits the theme, and it fits on there just fine. There are other manufacturers that probably have that twist and lock system, but the Athearn one is a real simple, just a post. So it's pretty adaptable across the board. Randall, don't worry about being late. You can always come back later and view what you missed on the YouTube channel. Glad that you made it. Terry, actually not a bad idea. He says time for modelers to launch a letter writing campaign to JB Hunt. Hey, it can't hurt. There's no harm in model manufacturers, doing models of their fleet. I mean, we as modelers want everything to be as accurate as possible, so there's no damage to the look or the name of the company. So why not? Let's see what else we've got. Brock wants to know, speaking of intermodal, what about the Genesis Maxi two-well cars announced in summer 2023? Actually, I was talking to John yesterday. We should have some, we're hoping that we're going to have some first samples at Amherst in a couple of months. So they are being worked on. We are looking at some of the first test shots. By the way, too, with that being said, keep your eyes on the newsletter, keep your eyes on our social media. Product development has got a new bunch of projects that they're working on. So we're going to show you a little bit behind the scenes on what everybody's working on so you can see how much stuff is going on. Let's see. Let's see. Randall says, I was just wondering about the JB Hunt issue. I didn't hear what was going on. Basically, what happened is we received a letter from JB Hunt, and they actually approached one of our large dealers up in the Chicago area and then contacted us, and I'm sure other manufacturers as well, and sent us a cease and desist letter. And that basically means that at that point, anything with their name on it had to be pulled from stock. We already had some containers that were in stock and being sold, and those had to be pulled. It was a legal issue at that point. Now, we do have legal advice at Horizon Hobby, and they work with companies in licensing, and JB Hunt just did not want to play. So do what Terry said. Maybe send them a letter writing campaign. Let's see, what else do we have here? Some folks asking for some wants. If there is something that you would like to see us produce that we currently don't produce, or maybe something we haven't produced in a while, feel free to shoot us an email. It goes directly to product development, and that's Athearn-product suggestions at athearn.com. Again, that's Athearn-product suggestions, all one word, at athearn.com. That goes straight to product development. Now, please remember, you're not going to get an answer. A lot of folks get mad with us because they think if they send a suggestion in, they're going to have a two-way conversation with one of our product developers. Trust me, our product developers don't have that kind of time. It's no shade cast upon you. It's just the fact that we're really busy with a lot of different projects. That being said, however, we do really value what you send in, and it really does help us. And in the end, it should help you as well. So again, there's something you'd like to see us do, there's your email. You can always send us an email. Jason says, Jim, I used to see road railers running through Chattanooga on 251, 252, but I could see these decorated for my grocery store despite them using different trailer manufacturer. You know, I was lucky. I got to see the road railers back east, and I also got to see the road railers right here in central Illinois, right up until they stopped using them. They used to go right through Decatur on the former nickel plate line in Illinois, and they'd go right into Decatur, which was the former Wabash yard. And it was pretty cool to see those. And I'm glad I got the pictures when I did, because since then, Norfolk Southern has discontinued that service. That is gone forever now. Let's do one or two more questions, and I've got more to share with you tonight. See, Terry says, any possibility of some legendary liveries on these trailers? Sure, we can do that in the future. Send us that email at Athearn-product suggestions at athearn.com. It's a possibility. We're always looking for ideas, and if we see that there's folks that are interested in something like that, we'll certainly do that. Let's see what else we've got here. Any idea when the 5-bay rapid discharge hoppers are going to be released? Athearn announced them 2 to 3 years ago. Yeah, it's close to 3 years ago. We're getting close. Keep an eye on our social media. Might be seeing something real soon. I don't have a date at this point. Unfortunately, as I was saying last week, there was a lot of stuff that we were hoping it was going to come in November and December. That's all been delayed. It's probably going to be delayed another 6 to 8 weeks. That might be one of them. So I don't have an ETA on those just yet, but I think we're going to be sharing some pictures of them soon. So I'm hoping your wait is almost over. I've opened the floodgates for ETA, folks. ETA on that Kansas City Southern SD40-2s. I believe that is a shipment that we're expecting later in the spring of 2026. SD70Ms, no ETAs on those yet. Terry says, not yet on Facebook. I don't know if Terry means that he's not yet on Facebook or if our post isn't on Facebook yet. The post isn't on Facebook. You'll see something starting Monday. If you're not on Facebook, consider yourself lucky. Late night. Are you looking forward to Springfield? Maybe some fun announcements in store for them. I'm looking forward to Springfield, Amherst, the big one, whatever you want to call it. It is probably my favorite show. It's a show I've been going to since like 1994, and I absolutely love that show. It's in my backyard, and I get to see all of you guys there. A lot of you guys, no matter where you're from, not just New England, but throughout the United States, sometimes Australia, come over and hang out with the Athearn crew. Now we're going to have a big booth again. We're going to be in the same location as last year, Better Living Center, right smack in the middle. And we're going to have a big 20 by 20 booth. And John has promised that he's going to be coming with us, and he's going to be bringing some stuff for you to see that you're not going to see on Train Tuesday or any other shows. These are going to be exclusive to this show. I'm really excited because I already know what John's bringing. and he's probably bringing more just to surprise me too. You're also going to see another one of our product developers, Robert. Robert is one of our product developers. He is kind of from my neck of the woods. He spent some time in both Pennsylvania as well as Maine, and he is another branch of our Athearn team that represents the East Coast. And then, of course, you're going to meet all of our bosses. Our boss is Mark Williams. He was with me last weekend at Milwaukee Train Fest, and he'll be at Amherst too. So if you want to know the mechanics of Athearn, how we choose things, how we do things, you're going to want to look and talk to Mark. Mark is great about explaining how we do things. All right. Well, let's see what else we've got here for news. I've been working on some things the last few weeks. It is officially fall. It's officially the holiday season. Probably one of my favorite times of the year because, like I was saying last week, I can work on the layout. I can work on some models. I can do some decoder installs, and I don't have to feel guilty about not working on the yard. It's cold. It's rainy. Well, this next week, I'm going to be busy with some other things besides modeling, but we're going to be doing some live feeds. So I've got a live feed starting next Monday, November 17th at 7 o'clock p.m. I'm going to be the guest over at Spring Creek. So both Mike and Jeff are going to be talking to me, and we're going to be talking about pre-orders, and we're going to be specifically talking about the GP38-2s, the RS3s, and the brand new tooling 36-foot flat cars, as well as the gondolas. Now, you might want to check this out because we're going to have some drawings of these old-time cars that have not been shared before. So that's something you're going to want to check out again. That's next Monday, November 17th at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Go over to the Spring Creek YouTube channel when you're done watching this video. Like and subscribe their channel. And they're going to be the host of this live feed next week. Really looking forward to hanging out with both Mike and Jeff Zucker at Spring Creek and talking about this new stuff. And then that same week, after Train Tuesday and on Thursday, I'm going to be joining both Ken Bianco as well as Tony Cook over at Train World. Now, Train World will be hosting this, and camera's getting a mind of its own here. All right. So I'm going to be a guest with Ken Bianco and Tony Cook as we talk about not only some of those pre-orders. Admittedly, I'm going to geek out about GP38-2s because that's kind of in my wheelhouse. But we're also going to talk about something that's been on everybody's mind, surfliners. I'm going to have some pictures that have never been shared before. Surfliners are coming. Product development is working like mad to get these things done. We want to get these out at the beginning of next year. So we're going to be showing you pictures that have never been shown before. All right. And one last thing. Today is November 11th. It is Veterans Day here in the United States. Athearn sent this out on social media, and we wanted to repeat. We want to thank all of our veterans that are watching this feed or watching the video later. There's a lot of us in the model railroad community that are veterans or currently still serve. And Athearn wants to take this time and thank you for your service. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate everything that you do. Without your sacrifice, we wouldn't be able to enjoy the small freedoms such as working on our model railroads and enjoying our railroads. So once again, we want to thank you to all of our veterans. All right. Let's go ahead and see what other questions we have today. And then I'm going to let you go. Great question, Sid. Is John drinking Red Bull to deliver the surfliner? He's he doesn't sleep. When I say John doesn't sleep, I really mean he doesn't sleep. Ben Jones wants to know, and if keen-eyed observers on social media have seen this stunning locomotive, any chances of the RBM and News 1776 paint? I can guarantee you the product development team was talking about it today. The pictures are stunning. Can't guarantee we're going to do it, but you know what? As I said last week, the 250th is going to be a big deal, and Athearn's going to make it a big deal. So you're going to see a lot of red, white, and blue next year. Let's see what else we've got. Charles Woods commenting on the JB Hunt. JB Hunt has joined the Maersk in not allowing modelers to have their named items on the model railroad market. Yeah, it's a shame. I personally didn't model that line, but it's still a shame because a lot of folks did. And now, I guess, like, if it's a good thing, it's not really a great thing, but if it's a good thing, if you have a Maersk or a JB Hunt, it's kind of a collector's item now. When Maersk came at us, we were actually at the Denver show, and we had just shipped in both HO and N scale the Pride containers that were really colorful. I'm glad to say I got one in N scale because I love the colors, but now they're super rare because that was one that a lot of them had to get destroyed because Maersk said, nope, whatever you haven't sold, they need to be destroyed. You need to have proof of their destruction. You can no longer sell Maersk equipment anymore. Sad day in the modeling industry when we have those kind of things happen. Late Night with a great solution to this, and I've done this back in the days before when Metro was starting to do some licensing. You can print your own decals and make them. Not the same, but an alternative. That's true. And I mean, here's the thing. If you're doing it for your own railroad and you're not making money off from it, it's probably not a problem. You're not going to have a lawyer come to your house and say you can't have that model on your layout because, again, you did it for yourself and you're not making a profit off from it. Whereas Athearn, obviously, we're making them for a profit because we're making them for you. But if you really want to have that model that doesn't exist anymore because some lawyers said, thou shalt not make that model anymore, you can go around on your own and put it on the layout with your own decals. Sometimes decal companies are not put into the same category as model makers. Other times you can find older decals still out there and make those models. Ian Green wants to know any ETA updates on the ST45s. I think the original announcement said they were due next month. Is that still accurate? Not quite, because we've had those delays. I hate saying delays, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, just with everything going on, we have some delays. No, it's not tariffs. It's not all tariffs. There's just been some delays. We'll probably see those early next year. Kevon Zone, is that how you say your name? Kevon Zone. Any updates on the 90s era SP and the Denver Rio Grande GP38-2s and the GP40-2s? Oh, yes, and also the Surfliners. I'm thinking you've got some pre-orders in there. So first of all, I want to thank you for all those pre-orders. We appreciate it. As far as updates on 90 era SP and Denver Rio Grande 38-2s, we are still trying to get those out by summer of next year. Same with the 40-2s. I think the 40-2s are going to be a little bit earlier, possibly in the spring. Don't have any firm dates on that. Just kind of working on windows there for you. And the Surfliners, yeah, if you check out the Train World video that I'll be on next Thursday, we'll have some updates for you. We'll have some pictures. We still don't have a firm ETA on that. We're just trying to nail down the last few things before we put them into full production. But we will be keeping you guys posted because obviously a lot of people like yourself are waiting for them. Let's see. Harold with a background about Mike's Trains House with the MTA subway cars in New York. They couldn't use the transit logos, but they still continued the models. Yeah. The modeling world can be weird. You remember when folks asked me for hey, why aren't you guys doing the Mack trucks anymore? Or why aren't you doing fill in the blank vehicle? It's about licensing. Licensing really does affect us, and not always in a positive way. All right, well, that is all I've got for you. We'll close the program with a little bit of switching. I'm going to switch cameras here. You can kind of see I've got this trailer in my layout. Probably not quite accurate because most of my stuff is for the 90s, but I threw it in there anyways. Maybe eventually I'll get that thing weathered and ready for a show. So let's go ahead and let's run some trains. All right. Using a different microphone this week. It looks like everybody can hear me. We're going to go ahead and put the sound back on. I'm also, while I'm waiting for the local to get here, I'm looking at any questions that you might have. We still have about 105 folks online, so if you got any questions, I will try to catch them. We're still running the GP39-2. That is pretty much the home road switcher. This is the latest release that we released earlier this summer. So it's going to have operating number boards. No class lights on this particular locomotive because by the time this thing had been repainted, this former Santa Fe unit had lost its class lights. So we can see the shoving platform just coming into view here. Timothy wants me to do my James Wright impersonation. I don't think I can do that. That is a man of distinction. I don't think I can do him justice. Let's see. Jonathan Miner joining the chat. My president of my club. He says, hey, the chip cars were popular at the Peterborough show last weekend. Good to hear. Thank you, John, and thanks for showing those off. Got a pretty easy switch list today. This AGP Trinity is going to get swapped out for that Evergreen freight car. So I'm going to go ahead and now the Railbox car, that is also a recent release. That is one that we released earlier this spring. That's an Athearn car. So you have the really nice wire handrails. You don't have the cut lever, but you do have the nice metal edged crossover, coupler crossover platform. Athearn does have rail service, yes. It's small right now. Those who have been watching Train Tuesday for a number of years probably recall just modules in the past. But this past summer, I was inspired to build a small layout like you see here, and a better way for us to enjoy the products together. Let's see what other questions we've got as the switcher backs up to get the Evergreen car. Michael says, nice caboose. Yeah, from my era, I'm using it as a shoving platform because in the world that I have built here, this is just the only service on this large spur. And in order for the train to come down here, it has to go shoving platform first. So to protect grade crossings, we have that shoving platform on there. Eventually, I'm going to modify it quite a bit and plate out those windows and grime it up a little bit, and I'm going to try to base it off from one that I saw in Mendota, Illinois many years ago. All right, looks like I've coupled up. No, I haven't. Oh, fire that guy. Let's make sure we've got him before we pull away. There we go. Now the Evergreen card that's pulling out, that is a Genesis model that we did a number of years ago. Probably about 3 years ago. He is just about to clear that switch. Don't be afraid to ask questions while I'm operating the train here. Oh, Michael says that he saw that same shoving platform out in Rochelle. He saw it yesterday. So that's interesting. That would make sense because Mendota is just down the road from Rochelle. Somewhere in my collection, I have pictures of that shoving platform as well as a GP38-2. And I don't remember the lineage of it. That was about 10 years ago. So again, the 39-2 that I've got here in the studio, this is from the recent release this past summer. It was the first release of the Genesis 39-2s that included operating classification lights, if so equipped, as well as lit number boards. Now, the thing to remember about the lit classification lights, obviously my unit doesn't have that. A lot of railroads got rid of class lights back in the 70s and 80s. So I believe in that run, the only ones that had classification lights were the Delaware and Hudson. We did 3 road numbers in Delaware and Hudson. And get some slack in there. And they all had operating classification lights. Those were function 25. Number boards were function number 24. And again, that was the first time they were offered. Now, in my particular locomotive, I only have lit number boards in the cab because modern day locomotives just have their road number painted above the headlight on the rear of the locomotive. BN Green 1970 says, cabooses is part of the reason why I modeled the 1970s. That and no graffiti. Man, is it just me or is graffiti just taken over lately? I remember rail fanning in the 90s and seeing a little bit of graffiti, mainly on bridges and things of that nature. But wow, I mean, there's videos, YouTube videos I've watched of Union Pacific switchers in the California area just covered in graffiti. I mean, there's 2 ways to look at graffiti. Some people can say it's art. Some people say it's vandalism. I don't know. If you're covering a complete locomotive and graffiti, that just seems like all-out vandalism to me. But that's just me. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Sid wants to know ETA on the GP38-2 and G&W Heritage Scheme. I think those are slated for later in the summer, Sid. Probably around late spring, early summer, but we'll see. Now the AGP card that I'm pushing in right now, that is a Joseph Transportation Incorporated. It's a Prime for Grime Trinity covered hopper. And we offered this a while ago, a couple of years ago. And I've yet to do any more weathering with it. I'd like to. So our crew is pretty well off here. Pretty easy today. They only had that one car. Let's see. I would prefer prime for grime instead, says Harold. Yes. That is true. John Miner, his comment is, don't paint something you don't own. Good rules to live by. Even though I've been tempted more than once to repaint a SD70 BNSF in red and gray with Burlington colors, I won't do that. All right, so BNSF 2795 is backing into what was once the main line to further up to a lumber yard, a grain elevator. That's all been discontinued back in the 70s. It's backing up to what was the former main line, picking up the cars and getting ready to head out. So with that, I want everyone out there to be happy, be healthy, be safe, do some good modeling, and above all, high greens. I will see you next week. Don't forget, I've got those live feeds coming up next Monday, as well as next Thursday, as well as Train Tuesday. Looking forward to seeing you at any of those live feeds. Until next time, everyone, high greens.